I'm Dr. Joey Faucette, coaching you to work positive today and increase your sales with greater team productivity, so you get out of the office earlier to do what you love with those you love. This week, let's talk about 3 timely strategies for positive change. You know, the time changes for most of the U.S. this weekend. We fall back. So how does this change affect you? Pretty much like any change does. So let me give you 3 timely strategies for positive change. First of all, acknowledge the change. Like most change, the reversal back to standard time came without our permission, right? Congress extended daylight savings time without so much as a phone call to my office or yours. That's the way change operates. It shows up without so much as a warning for many of us. We find ourselves blindsided by a software change, a systems change, pricing change. The list just goes on and on, right? Change is what it is, regardless of our lack of involvement or even consultation. The faster you acknowledge the change, the more quickly you capitalize on it. To increase your sales with greater productivity requires you to say to yourself and others, this is the change, it's here to stay. Such change recognition reorganizes your brain for optimal adaptation to the change and learning its consequential behavior just as soon as possible. Secondly, avoid resisting the change. How often next week will you say something like, my body's still adjusting to the new time. You know, it's really blah, 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 o'clock in the old time. Change resistance is predictable. Your brain loves the familiar because mental file folders already exist for sorting and storing information about the accompanying behavior. Your brain resists the unfamiliar due to that requisite creation of new mental file folders, which mean new behaviors. For example, if your software changes, avoid saying something like, well, I knew what to do in XYZ. I don't have a clue now. Instead, program your brain for quickly accepting the change by closely examining that new software. Find functions in the unfamiliar software that are similar to the familiar, make the mental connection, and then you've accepted the change. Avoid resisting the change by building a bridge of similarity between the familiar and the unfamiliar. Thirdly, accelerate through the change. You determine how quickly you adjust to the time change next week. Your mental attitude sets the pace. So here's the key to accelerating through change. Repetition, repetition, repetition. For instance, when your operational software changes, after you bridge the familiar to the unfamiliar, invest time in repeating those functions. Just keep after it. Persevere, persist, perform repetitive tasks. Next week, you'll get up every morning by the alarm clock set to standard time rather than switching back to daylight savings time. You repeat waking up to the new time daily until it's no longer unfamiliar but becomes familiar. As you do, you accelerate through the change at work. You adapt more quickly and you capitalize on those opportunities. This kind of rapid adaptation means that you increase sales with greater productivity, which gets you out of the office earlier to do what you love with those you love. You work positive. So deal with change with these 3 strategies. I'm Dr. Joey Faucette, coaching you to work positive today.